Hello everyone, so today we're going to do a new theme which is going to be a portfolio, a responsive portfolio for a developer or even a designer. So just to take you through it, you have your simple navigation at the top, your logo which is your initials, just kept it really simple, links here about, skills and contact, this will just be to an email straight away. You have your introduction, and then here you just got a simple emoji. You've seen these in some other portfolios where they just have a waving hand. This could be anything you want, it could be your avatar, and you have a link to your about me section, and then here you just show off your work. So project 1, you could click on the link and this will take you to a separate page, or it will take you to the project. And then we just have another project. Again, we're just separating the sections, so black and white, just to make it a bit more different. The layout here again is just image on the left, text on the right, button slightly different, just a different variant, and then the same on here. And the nice thing about some of these images is sometimes if you've made an app, you don't just always have to show the full app. Sometimes it's nice to show parts of it, maybe even in like a real photograph of you holding the app in your hand in a phone or in an iPad, for example. You'll have your about section. This could be split up into timeline, your work. It could be like from your CV. You could also have your image as well. So here you could have bullet points just to be really simple. And then you have your skills, so this is just a simple list. And then of course you have your links at the end, so a link to your GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then your footer at the bottom. So just to show you as well, is because we're going to have a little go at Git in terminal. So there's one massive thing that I encourage a lot, even if you're a designer. This is a really good way to create different concepts or different versions. This is what Git is for. It's for versioning control. So just to check where I am currently. Okay, so I'll just choose Git status. Okay, so Git branch and the list. Okay, so currently on master. So if I do Git checkout concept B, we're just switching into this new concept. We should see it change. So what I've done here is I've made a slight change here. So here you can see the image is now like right to the edge. We call that like full bleed. So it's right to the edge. It's nice and big. Not much change on that one or that one. This one as well is also full bleed, right to the edge. You've seen these on some sites now where there's no spacing for the image. So that's pretty cool. And the same for the photograph as well. It's nice and big and it's right to the edge. That is another quite modern technique to use nowadays. So that is concept B. You can let me know in the comments which concept you prefer as well. And then we're going to switch to concept D. Okay, so this one here, what we've done is we've changed the header navigation a bit. So these are now center aligned. This is on the right. Again, you've probably seen this header style. And then here we're changing up the layout. So this is a bit off grid and you've got a nice slight gradient. It's not too heavy. So again, the text is dark on light background. Again, here it's just a really nice gradient, and the layout is different. This time this is full bleed, so it goes right to the edge. This one I didn't put any gradient on there, and then here we've got a really nice slight gradient again, and the footer's the same. So that is concept D. And then the last one, which is not really a huge difference, concept E, is there's no gradients this time. So here we're just keeping it really simple, minimal, clean, dark on light background. So it's very consistent. And yeah, so that is concept E. So let me know in the comments which one you prefer, A, or master, B, D, or E. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and let's get on to the video. Back on master now, so back to the first concept. So what we're going to do, we are going to open up terminal. Let's just clear this. So clear. And what I did is, let me just check where I am again. So cd tilde. Okay, that brings us back to the root. We want to go to the desktop. And in there, I created a folder called portfolio. And in there we have images. So just to show you, in here we have all the different images that I used. They're from Unsplash, really good resource for copyright-free images. So in here we are going to create, oh actually let's just go into code, Visual Studio Code. So code and then dot, and we're just going to use Divi to bring that down here. Okay, we just hide terminal. So in portfolio, we're going to create a new file, and this is called index.html. And we can do exclamation mark, and then with Emmet, we just hit enter. So that now creates the whole HTML file. And what we're also going to do is, after the title, we're going to create a link tag. Oop. Let's see how it does it. There we go. And then we're going to create a CSS folder, and in there we're going to put the main.css file. Command S. And if we go back to portfolio, we can create a new folder called CSS, and we're going to create a new file called main.css. Okay, so back in index. So what we're going to do first, we are going to create a header, and in the header we're going to create a link. So let's see how this does it again. Just type A and then enter, and then hash, because we're not going anywhere at the moment. So the initials for this person is DM, and then we're going to create a nav tag. Oop. And then in there we're going to have 3 links. So go A, and in there we're not going anywhere. We're going to then say about, and then we can do, if I remember this, it's Alt Shift down. Yeah, Alt Shift down copies it again to the next line, which is pretty cool. So about skills, Alt Shift down, and then contact. So Command S, and this will just be like a mail to. So that will just open up the default browser. So it would just be, you know, you@youremail.com. Command S. Okay, so that's very straightforward. And then what we're going to do is we'll right click the index, open with live browser, and this is something you can install if you go to your Explorer, which is let's remember, Command Shift X. Oh, good memory. Command Shift X, and you install this live browser. We'll just go back now. What's that? Command Shift E, Command Shift X. So if you, once you get live server installed, then we just do Command Shift E. So we right click, open with live server. There we go. So we've got our simple initial logo, about, skills, and contact. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into main, and what we're going to do is create some utility classes. Okay, so we're back on main.css, and you can see all the what we have at the moment, the initials and the navigation. So what we're going to do is we are going to create some utility classes. Okay, so what we're going to see is let's just be organized at the beginning. Okay, so if we do import, and then we'll do utilities.css, and if we go into index, if we go into CSS folder, new file, utilities.css. So the ones we're going to need is flex. So if we go to index and we go to the header, we'll put class, we're going to go flex, command save, and we are also going to do justify between. Okay, hopefully these are connecting. Let's find out again. Oop. And then if we do flex row, command S, and it's not working. Let's find out why. Okay, so you have to do, maybe it's because we've actually have two running. So what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to close one. Let's see if I get rid of flex row, get rid of justify between. Okay, so that might be why you can't have two at the same time. Okay, so we do flex. Well, let's try that again. Okay, so what I've done, I've got rid of the other server. So let me just see. Okay, so I've just got rid of the other server here, so it seems to be interfering with the live browser. So anyway, we'll go back to the header class, type flex. So now that's all on one line. We then do justify between. So now that will bring it out to the right. So what we also want to do is we want to do some default styling. So for the links, we want to get rid of text decoration underline, so you just put none. And we also want the links to be color, and we'll put let's have a think now. We'll just put black for now. Okay, so that is that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have some spacing, but we're going to create a spacing system using CSS variables. So if we go back to the CSS folder, create a new file, we'll then say spacing.css. We'll go into main and we'll do the same. We'll import spacing.css, and in spacing we're going to create a root which is going to hold all the variables, and we're going to start with the base spacing unit, which will be 1 rem. And some units you use ems or pixels, but I tend to use rems because they can be quite easy to remember. So here we have a spacing system, and whenever you're going to use a padding or margin, you're going to use one of these variables, so therefore everything is going to be consistent. Things are going to line up nicely. You won't have to keep guessing what unit to use. So this is quite a nice thing to use. Always have a system. So for example, we're going to put some padding right and left on the header. So we can now introduce these. So let's start with padding top. So padding top will be the default of space, and then what we'll do is we'll copy this, so Alt Shift down, we'll do it 4 times. Okay, so we're going to do top, we do clockwise, top, right, bottom and left. We'll just change that to right, bottom and left. Now we're going to then do, we're going to then go up the sizes. So let's do, okay, so now we're covering quite a lot of sizes now. And if we go back to index and we'll go into the header tag, let's say padding left, and then we'll say large, Command S, and that did not work. And why didn't that work? So padding left large, and it's because we didn't have a large. Interesting. So I missed one. So we'll now create large, and you'll be thinking, why create all these classes now? That's because going forward we are going to be creating templates every Monday or Tuesday, and this is going to help speed up the process. So once you have these design systems in place, this is for apps, websites, anything design related. Once you have these systems in place, you won't have to guess as much as you would do. You just know what units to use. So design systems help improve consistency. They'll help developers and designers know what classes to use. So that's large, large, large. And of course we need to then bring that over here. Okay, so there we are. We've got the padding large on there, and the same we'll do padding right large, and then we'll do padding top large. Okay, maybe that's too much. Let's say just padding top and padding bottom. There we go. And what we want to do on each of these is we want to give it a class. Actually, we want the last two to have a spacing. So let's say margin left, and let's say large. And we say margin left large as well. Now those are not done because we need to create those classes as well. So yeah, okay, so probably what would be quite easy, these files can get pretty long, so what we'll do is we'll change, let's then make a new class for padding.css. We'll go into main, we'll then import padding, so padding.css, and then what we'll do is we'll then copy all of these, we'll go into padding, so then we have all the padding there, and then if we go into, we do another new file called margin.css, and what we're going to do here is we're going to then change all the P's to M's. So let me see if I'm going to do a quick search and replace. So search, let's see, where are we? Replace. Okay, so in this file we want to find .p and we want to replace it with .m. So let's see if that does it. Boom. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So now we got all the now we have the margin. Command save. If we go back to spacing, what we'll now do is we'll get rid of all of those. Oops, did I miss the last batch? Yeah, yes I did. Okay, so we go back to main. Now we go back to spacing. We'll then copy these. So there's a couple that I missed out on, so we'll just copy that over to padding, and we're just separating these files so they're not so long. So if we go to margin, and then in here we can then do the same. We still have it open, just replace. Okay, so that's most of the margins. The only ones missing is the small extra smalls. So from there, if we go to main, now we also want to import margin. So spacing holds the variables, and then we separated out margin and padding, just so we could also copy and paste quite easily. Okay, so put space there. So margin left large. Don't we have margin left large? Yeah. Okay, now the other thing I missed was the actual properties. So we are going to change all of these to margin. We change those to margin, and now this should work. And then we go back here, Command S, and it's still not working. So A class, margin left large. Surprised that is not working yet. So if we go to main, we go margin.css. Let's see if this makes a difference. Oh yes, so you have to put a semicolon at the end. So there we are, we got the spacing on there. Let's make that a bit bigger now. So now you can just go up. So extra large, oop, there we go. It's a bit more generous. If you want to be even more generous, even better. Okay, and so that is the header. What we're going to introduce is the fonts. So what I've noticed with some developer portfolios, which I think is really cool, is rather than use sans serif or serif fonts, they've gone with monospace fonts, because monospace is in the code. Some really good choices, and what I've chosen is space. So let's add that to the stack. What we're going to do is we're going to get regular and bold, and there's going to be one more which I definitely am a huge fan of, which is Orbitron. It's got that very that futuristic sci-fi look, so we're going to add that. But what we're going to do with Orbitron, we are going to only choose the bold version. So regular, okay, and we're not going to worry too much about optimizing right now. So, well, one way you can download the fonts, for example, but for now we're going to just prototype quickly. So in here we just go to embed, we'll copy this, we'll go into our HTML and we'll paste that in. Command save. We'll also copy these two, because we are going to create another new file in the CSS folder, and this is going to be called typography.css, and we'll paste it in there. What we're going to do is create a class. So we'll create a class for each, so space mono, and the other one is .orbitron. Okay, and then if we go back to our main, we need to import typography .css. Okay, so on the body we are then going to put a class of space mono. So now we should see that really nice space mono font on there, and we're also going to change the actual logo to use Orbitron. You can see how cool this is. So Orbitron, and there you go, it's got that really nice futuristic look. Okay, so the next system we're going to introduce is a font size system. So we're going to put this in typography. So in here again we're going to do root, and we're going to start with the F5. Now this is a big inspiration from Tachyons, so font size F5, which is going to start from 1 rem, and then we start to go up, so F4. So now we have a really good font size scale. So now you can always refer to these variables and use this everywhere where you declare the font size. So now things are going to stay consistent. If you have a team of designers, developers, this is where if you need to make a decision on the font size, you can look at the font scale and say, okay, we need the heading to be F3. So therefore you're not always going to have 50 different font sizes. And now the next thing we need to do is create a class for each of these. So F1, and we'll say font size variable F1, Control J, J. Okay, and then we're going to copy this 7 times. If I remember now, Alt Shift and down. Okay, 7 times, 6, 7. So now we have our font system and we have our utility classes. So if we go back, let's make the main logo F3. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. And we're going to make the nav a bit smaller. Let's say F6. Yes. Okay. So that is our header done. So the next section is going to be the introduction section. So what we'll do there, we'll now create a new section, and in there we're going to create a div, and in there we're going to have the main heading. So we can say hello, and a really good resource to use is UI names. If you want to think of names, or you don't want to think of names, this is quite a good project. So press spacebar, Timothy Parker. Okay, so let's get this. So Timothy Parker. So hello, I'm Timothy Parker, a front end developer from London, England. Full stop. And if we are going to get that emoji, so copy paste character, and you can get different ones. So if we go to emojis, we should see the hand somewhere, or the wave. Here we go. Select it, and we'll just bring it here, Command V, and then we should see that. There we are. So we are going to make that bigger. So class, and let's see how F1 looks. That's going to look really big. F2, a lot better. And we're also going to introduce font weights. So in here, typography, we can then say font weight 4, will be font weight 400, which should be regular. So let's see how that works. So font weight 4, there we go. And I think it might be a bit smaller. So what we're also going to do is introduce some widths as well. So we can go into utilities, and there's going to be 3 widths. So max width, and we'll say max width medium, and the max width on there is going to be a variable, and that variable is going to be max width medium. Okay, so if we go up here, we go to root, we then do max width medium, and that will be 768 pixels. Max width large will be 1024 pixels, and you're probably familiar with some of these. So you got iPad landscape portrait, and then you have your laptop, which is 1280 pixels. And this is like Tailwind CSS, they're really good. So they also have this system. So max width small, and that was 600 pixels. Okay, so if we go down here, we've now got max width medium, okay. So if we go back and we now put in a class, let's say max width small, and there we go, that might be a bit too small, let's say medium. There we are on 2 lines. And now we want to add another utility class for centering. So dot center will be margin left auto and margin right auto. Command S. So we go back, we'll then do center, and that centers it. So now what we want to do is introduce some spacing on the top and the bottom. So let's say padding top extra large, and also padding bottom extra large. So now let's just introduce the some colors. So we're going to keep the colors very simple for now. So in the utilities, you can probably see we're going to keep adding. So let's actually just separate them out. So again, we're going to create another new file, and we'll call this colors.css. We'll go into main, we'll import colors.css. Okay, so here we're going to do black, and that will be color, pardon me, and we'll use 6 ones, and then we'll do one for white, it'll be color white. We're also going to do a BG black, so that's background black, that will be background color of 6 ones, and this is where we're going to put other colors like gradients. Okay, so if we go back to index, we can go to the header, and if we then put in BG black, you're going to see that. And then if we put in white, and that doesn't work because we have to do it on the actual link, so white, and the same for these as well. So we put class of white, white, and white. So we can see there's some default padding, so we can go back to main. We can say body margin 0 or padding 0, and that removes all the default padding on the body. And these are not perfectly center aligned, So we can go to utilities again. We need to align them in the middle. So items center, align items center. So here we can just go to items center, and there we go, that's aligned up a lot better now. Okay, so if we go back to this section, and there's another color we're going to use. So let's just have a quick look. If I go into the section, I then say class of white smoke, and that is not doing anything. And why is that? We go back to main, we got colors, white smoke, unless it's because it needs that camel case. No, it doesn't. Interesting. BG white smoke, background color white smoke. Oh, it's because I just put white smoke. So BG dash white smoke. There we go. That's probably a bit tight. So we're gonna make the spacing even bigger. So let's say extra large. That's a bit better. If we want to be even more generous, let's go extra large. Oh, even more better. Okay, so that's the nice thing now. We've built a system. We can just increment the naming convention, and using large, extra large is quite a good convention that's used around. The next thing we're going to do is create our button, and we're going to call this CTA. Okay, let's just do it the Emmet way. So A, and then we're going to say read more about me. Actually, just say read more, and then Command S. So now we can go to utilities, and we're going to create our CTA. So what we'll do is we'll give it a border width of 2 pixels solid, 2 pixels, sorry, and then border style of solid, and then we're going to say border radius, we want that rounded look, so 50%. Go back to index, we then give this a class of CTA. Okay, so back on the CTA. So border radius of 50%. Okay, so let's see what happens if I put display flex, display block, display inline block, and border radius of 50 pixels. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, so we're just perfecting the Divi layout right now. Okay, so this is probably good enough. Okay, so now we're going to then use the font size system variable. So font size, and then we have the variable of F5. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's fine. F6. Okay, let's keep it at F5. And then we're going to use some padding. So padding, let's say padding left is going to be space medium. Let's see how big that looks. Okay, that might be too much. And then we do small, Alt Shift down, Alt Shift down. Okay, let me put this sticky note on the top of my laptop there. So padding right, well, so padding right, and then we're going to go small as well. Okay, that's cool. And then we'll do the same So Alt Shift down, Alt Shift down. So we'll say top will be extra small, and bottom will also be extra small. But that might be too big, so let's say extra small. There we go. That kind of reminds me of the Nintendo logo. And let's go medium. Let's see how that looks. Okay, yeah. Right. So now we created a CTA. There's going to be different versions of CTA. So like you can have black or white. Okay, so we're going to do the next section, which is going to be the images. So if we go to index, so now we go to section, and in here we're going to have a main div, and we can have another div which contains the image source, and then we need to close it, and in here we go to the images folder, and then let's pick the first one. Okay, Command save. So now that image is obviously pretty huge, really huge. That's the different one there. So if we then go to the next one, we then do H2. So we do H2. Ooh, that's long like that. H2, enter. Okay, that's better. So project 1, and then in there we're just gonna have some lorem ipsum, like literally lorem ipsum. Command save, and we can't see anything right now. So what we need to do is then put this in a grid. So class, and we created these earlier, so grid, and then we say grid row. Oh, sorry, we want to do grid 1 1. So this should hopefully be side by side, but I don't think we have created the grid system yet. We have. Okay, so we're going to introduce another one. So I wonder if it's to do with this, width 100, and we just say width 100%. And then what we'll do, we'll go back, we'll go on the section. Okay, so the possible reason why it might not be working is because the image might need a width of 100%, and that's the reason why. Geez. Yeah, so it needs to be, if it wants to be fluid, you have to give it a width of 100%. So now we have them side by side, which is pretty cool. But we actually gonna, yeah, we can keep it like that, that's fine. So that is that section. And then what we can do, we can also create some spacing again. So we're going to go panning top. We're just going to use the same actually, so we can keep it very consistent. Okay, so padding top and bottom. There we go. So we are going to get rid of BG smoke. Okay, and we're going to go back to the grid, and we're going to give anything in the grid, we're going to give it a gap. So grid gap, and we are going to say space large. Okay, let's make it extra large. Okay, there we go. So that is pretty cool. Now the only thing here, probably we don't need a padding top here, because that's too much. So we just need to change one class. Okay, so we'll just take that out here. So that should line up nicely now. Yep. And as you can see, it goes all the way, but we actually want to give it a centered width. So in here, we'll go to this div and we'll just do max width large, and we go center, and let's see what happens there. So now, yes, so now we can see it is centered in the middle. We can actually go smaller, so max width medium. Yeah, so that lines up nicely there. It lines up with this. So that's project 1. So now all we have to do is just go to the next one, and we'll just change the image. So command save. Now what we can do is we can change the order, but what we're going to do first is we'll get a different image. So we've got the Austin there. The next one we want is, let's just use that one, command S, and this is project 2. So now what we want to do is, actually they're a bit too small, so let's make them bigger. So max width large, actually medium. We can make it, instead of 1 and 1, we go 2 1, command S. So we are actually going to put this one first because of, yeah, and the second one we're going to have the image on the right. So this time we'll just bring that way, and what we'll do is we will then change that to project 2 and then project 1. So now we want the left image first. We'll copy this section, and this will be project 3, and we'll get the next image, which will be this one. Let's have a look. There we are. So project 3, that's 1 2 3, and then the last one, we'll copy this one before, that will be project 4, and that one will be the last project. So we just delete this one. Oops. Images, and it was this one. There we are. But what we want to do is to make some of them bigger. So the last one we go 2 1. That is 2 1. That one is 1 1. So let's say we want to make this one a bit bigger. So we go back, we'll then say 1 2. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. We also want to give a bit more spacing, so we'll then say on project 2 we'll just change this to padding top extra large. That's nice. Nice separation there, and we have more spacing there and more spacing on this one. So now there's a nice separation of the projects. So that's the projects done. Okay, so let's just collapse these just so we're not scrolling. And what we can do is we can add some comments just to know which ones you're on. So command / intro, we're going to want the image on the left, so we'll copy project 3. Not sure how, yeah, so copy that. We'll go to the about, command V. So here we'll just change that to about, and we'll change the image as well. We'll change that to, I believe it was Lucas Sankey. Did I do the right one? No, oop, I did the wrong one there. Oopsie. So we got that one, that one, that one, that one. And we need to go to the end. So the about, there we are. And we then change that to Lucas Sankey. There we go. Nice. And in the about section, again, we can do a new thing here. So the about, you can put class. We didn't really use these, so let's see F3. Let's say F2. Okay, so let's see if we then do it the same for these ones. Okay, I think those are too big, so let's say F3. Yep. So let's open up the other ones. Well, actually, we can make that bigger because that's quite an important section. So in here, we'll then do another heading, and this will just be work 1. You can then put the dates. So let's say 2017 to 2018. Would that work like that? Let's just put it like this. Okay. We'll also give this a class of F3, F4, F5. Let's say F5. There we go. Okay, I think what we need to do actually is make these the same. So grid 1, 1. Okay, that's better. And then we can just copy these, and then you got your workplace 3. So let's go up to your current one. So we'll go with the current one. Well, let's say up to 2020, or just the current one really. So 2020, or you just say current. So this one could be up to 18, or you could say 2019 to current, like that. And then we just do, yeah. Okay, so you can bring in some bullet points. So if you want to be specific with what you did in the team, you can just describe it as an action. So we're just going here, action 2, action 3. There we go. And that is pretty straightforward again. And then the next bit is the skills section. Okay, so if we go into skills, we do a new section, and in there we have a div, and in there we have a heading of skills, and then we have a new div, and in here we're just gonna have, let's see how we're gonna do it. We can have we can just say P for now, and we'll say HTML. Let's see if I remember how to do Command Alt and down arrow. Oh yes, 5 times. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and then Angular. Command S. Okay, and what we want to do is give those a class of Orbitron. and a font size of 3, even bigger, 2, so those stand out a bit more. And then we want to introduce a grid. So if we go grid, but we want these to actually line up on the 5 row, so 5 columns, sorry. So we can then create a new utility class, and this one is in utilities. So in here we just do .grid 5, so grid template columns, 1 frame, 1 frame, 1 frame, 1 frame. Okay, and then here we just do grid -5, so now it will line up nicely. And what we'll do is we'll then, let's see, if we then do, so we do the same, so max width large and center. So this should now be in the center. And then we're also going to introduce a new utility class called text center. And that could actually belong in typography. So TC for text align center. Okay, so let's see how that works. Class TC, yes. And then here we'll do the same. So padding bottom extra large. It's 3 X's. So now we maintain the same padding on top and bottom. So that's not nice separation. So that's that. And then the last section, of course, is footer. And in there we can have the same spacing, and we got the copyright. So I always forget what the shortcut is for this. So copyright, here we go. Just put a P, and copyright 2020. We go back. Okay, so that's there. We can make this a bit smaller as well. So class F6. And we're also going to give this a background of black and white text and a line in the middle. Boom. That's the nice thing about utility classes, you just reuse them. You don't have to create new CSS. So every time we do a new element, we just reuse these classes. So all we need to do now is get the icons. So one place you can do it, I think it's called social. If I look for social SVG icons, and I wonder if that was, did I get them from here? Okay, yeah, simple icons. So very first one, oh, still loading. So the very first one, that if you're a developer, is GitHub. So we just copy that, or we download it actually. We want Twitter as well, and what else was there? LinkedIn. Okay, so I've probably done these already, so we copy those. You go to your desktop, portfolio, images, copy them in. We'll go into the images. We can actually just copy the SVG code and go back, just paste that in, and we'll go to LinkedIn, Command A, Command C, and we'll paste that in as well. Let's just see it. And then the last one was Twitter. Okay, so now what we need to do is make all the SVGs white, because we're only using 3 at the moment, but we can create utility classes again. So for now, since we only got 3 SVGs, we can just say .svg, I think it was fill white. Is that it? No, that's not it. SVG, oh, there we go. And we need to give these a width, so we say width. Let's use the variables. Okay, so it's pretty cool. So let's say we'll give it a width of let's think now. Let's say space. Is that too small? Yeah, that's way too small. So let's say large or extra large. Oh, that's pretty good there. Ah, that's quite straightforward. Or extra large. No, that's too big. Okay, and then we want to give them a margin as well. So margin left, we'll just say var space. So now we're using variables again. We'll go extra large. No, nice. Okay, so that might be too much spacing, because we're also going to do it on the right. And then we would just say space extra large. Okay, now the only thing is this doesn't seem to be lining up correctly for some reason. So margin left and right. Ah, okay, we don't really want these on the SVGs actually. We want to start putting them on here. So we just do class margin left large and margin right large. Okay, how do we get rid of the Explorer? Was it Command B? Command B, okay. Command B, space, space. There we go. Okay, so now we have that nice spacing. We could actually have a bit more spacing from the paragraph. So we do we'll have a class margin bottom. No, let's make it more. So margin bottom large. Nice. Okay. Now the only thing to consider is these also have spacing by default. So we'll get rid of those. And I'm not sure if we actually have a margin bottom of 0. Oop, and I closed that file by accident. And it don't look like we do. So we can just introduce those. So we go MB0. Oop, let's do it on one line, margin bottom 0. There we go. Nice. So let's go to let's say project 2. So again, we'll get rid of the Explorer. We'll collapse the skills and the footer and the about. Project 3. So we want to go to project 2. So here, what we'll do, in project 2 we'll say a class of BG black, and then we'll say white text. Boom. Nice. So now that's got that really nice separation. In here we're gonna add the same thing, project 4. So here we'll put class of BG white smoke. There we are. Okay, so what we've done now is we created a very nice well, actually these probably too much spacing, but now we've created a very nice simple one-page developer portfolio. We're using monospace fonts. We got all the projects. We have a about section, we have skills, and then we have the SVG icons at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is just very quickly reduce those spacing because I think they're too much. That's better. Maybe even that's too much. So let's say large. Just have to remember the fat fingers. Okay, that's better. Okay, now what we have to do is to make this responsive. And that should be quite straightforward. So what we want really, all we want is for these to collapse or to stack. Okay, so we don't want them to be in columns. So one simple way to do that is if we go back to, I think it's utilities. Okay, so we're going to hide a lot of these actually. We're going to only introduce these in, let's say, medium screens. Okay, so we go at media and then brackets min width, let's say 768 pixels, and then in there, that's when we want all the grid stuff to apply. Command S. So let's see if this works. So yep, so they're stacking now. And if you noticed, we're not using any hamburger menus, and the reason why is because we've got three links, so it's a bit overkill to have only 3 links in a nav that you have to click. So here we can see that everything is just stacking now. It's responsive. Probably the only thing we need to do is add a bit of padding because some of these are right to the edge. So again, what we'll do is we'll go to index, and if we go into the section, let's then say padding left and padding right. Cool, so you got your padding left there, and we just need to apply it to the other sections. Okay, so we're just going to add the spacing to the other sections. So we go back to project 1 and we just add in some spacing, so padding left and padding right. Actually no, that was on the image. We don't want that on the image, we just want it on the text. There we go. And the same for this one, class, and the same for the other sections here. Oop. Probably just copy that, and the next one here. Nice. And then the last one is the about section. There we go. So there you have it. You have a nice responsive portfolio, and it's very simple, minimal, clean. We're using fonts for the actual logo. You can, of course, create an SVG if you use Figma. What we can do as well to use this font, we're going to use these on the headings. Okay, so there's something a bit different. So all we have to do is go to the headings, and then we just put Orbitron. Let's see how this looks. Orbitron. Nice. Okay, so that's there. We just collapse, open, go Orbitron again. So now that goes with the goes nicely with the logo. Okay, and then project 4, which is already open, put class, was it F3, and we put Orbitron. Nice. Okay, and then right at the end we got the abouts, we've got Orbitron again. Skills, because we kind of reversed it, so we'll keep that as space mono. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this one. If you really liked it, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, because what we're going to do next is we're going to start using a bit of Git, and we're going to then go into the other concepts.